Tonight, the HiToms make their third trip to Martinsville, Virginia to take on the Martinsville Mustangs. It's still early in the second half of the Coastal Plain League. However, though, this will be a key divisional matchup against two divisional foes. AJ Myers, David Katzenmeyer will take you through this one tonight. David, the HiToms last night fell 14-2 to the Chili Peppers. We see in head coach Sean Stevens' lineup, he makes some adjustments.
Yeah, it's one that they're going to push out of their minds from last night. Now it's head forwards, let's look onwards. If you remember, to open the second half, the HiToms got run ruled in 8 innings as well. However, they bounced back with a fantastic win of their own, so they're looking to do the exact same thing tonight. We've seen this team teeter back and forth from win to loss on great scales, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this team look completely different from last night, AJ.
So we make our first trip to Hooker Field here in Martinsville, Virginia. It's a field that is under construction, and you can quite clearly see that. We got grandstands in cages almost. But as far as the field goes, you got the infield all in turf, and then the outfield is actual grass, which is a little patchy, so outfielders tonight will need to be careful and watch their footing. So the starting lineup for the HiToms, it will be Kane Kepley leading off. Then it'll be Andrew Fernandez. It'll be Will Verdung. He'll be the DH tonight. Cleanup spot will be Austin Deering. It'll be Josh Karen. He's over at first. It'll be J.D. Suarez, Dylan Lewis, Noah Hill. He'll be catching tonight. And then making his HiToms debut in the ninth hole is Nathan Chrisman.
Yeah, Chrisman out of ECU. It's going to be cool to see what he could do. Played his high school ball with Kane Kepley, who is ready to head up to the left side. I'll give a quick defensive setup for the Mustangs. On the mound for them will be Ryan Friesen. Catching will be Ian Francis. From left to right in the infield will be Reese Robinette, Carter DeRiggi, Tyler Ross at second, and Drew Needham at first. Christian Easley in left, Adam Fallon in center, and Lucas Carmichael rounds out thing at the 9 spot in right field. We're pretty much ready to go here, and I'll turn it right back over to AJ for all the play-by-play action here.
So again, it'll be Ryan Friesen on the bump for the Mustangs. He deals to Kepley. It goes high for ball 1. In what is a very hot and sticky Martinsville night. Next one from Friesen, shoots low. So Kane Kepley quickly ahead 2-0, just starting off here in Martinsville between the Mustangs and HiToms.
Yeah, very humid. Currently 85 degrees. However, the humidity feels like it's a little bit hotter than that.
Kane Kepley fouls off the next Friesen delivery. So it's a 2-1 count, top of the first. No outs in a scoreless game.
Field is pretty much symmetrical here on both sides at Martinsville. 330 down both lines, 400 to dead center, and the wall wrapping around evenly on both sides.
2-1 from Friesen. Again, it's hit foul by Kepley.
And we've got to keep our heads up a little bit here as there is no net in front of where we are. We're pretty much directly in line with Kane Kepley, who stands in the left-handed batter's box. So lefties will be a little bit of a danger here today.
2-2 count from Friesen, hits the turf. So it is a full count now for Kane Kepley with no outs here in the top of the first.
Kane Kepley has really been a spark ever since he's come to this HiToms team. He's been able to do it with the long ball twice this year. However, his on-base percentage has been the most outstanding stat.
Payoff pitch from Friesen goes outside, and the HiToms have one aboard in the form of Kane Kepley with no outs here in the top of the first.
And yet again, another walk for Kane Kepley as he trots on down 90 feet over to first base. He'll give a fist bump to Mason Biddix, the first base coach for the HiToms, as it'll now bring up Andrew Fernandez, who makes his debut in the top part of the lineup for the Tommies.
Yeah, I know that was something you're excited about, David, to see Fernandez pushed up in the lineup a little.
Most definitely, as Fernandez is a switch hitter, so he's able to work on both sides of the plate, depending on which is the better matchup.
He shows bunt there.
Fernandez, it's another thing he does very well is that one drifted high for a ball as he pulled back. But Fernandez, a guy who can hit for both sides of the plate, smaller frame, just about 5'8" as he stands in. However, he's got a lot of power behind that bat, and the fact that he can swing it from the right and the left side means that the Tommies in the first inning will have a guaranteed 2 out of 3 advantageous.
Friesen throws back over to first. It's Drew Needham keeping an eye on Kane Kepley at first. Andrew Fernandez is in a 1-0 count here in the top of the first. Friesen sets, deals to Fernandez. He looks at that one, called for a strike.
An elevated fastball just on the inside part of the plate. A very nice pitch in location. Not one that Fernandez is going to catch up to many times.
Friesen at Muhlenberg College in 2023 had an ERA of around 6. He's in a 1-1 count. Kane Kepley's moving, and that was fouled off from Fernandez, so Kepley will have to go back to first.
Looked to be a possible hit-and-run opportunity, something the HiToms have really tried to do a bunch so far this season, but that was just another elevated fastball that Fernandez waved on and just got under.
Fernandez back in the batter's box, ready to go. So too is Friesen in a 1-2 count. Friesen nods to his catcher, Ian Francis. Throws back over to first. Kepley's comfortably safe.
And switch hitters not too often at this level anymore, as if you take a look at from the MLB statistics, 30 years ago, about 50% of the players that were playing were switch hitters. Now only about 10%.
Fernandez gets a hit on that one. It's right out to center field. Adam Fallon is looking up onto it, and he makes the grab for the first out.
It was another elevated fastball. This time Fernandez got contact, but it really only took a step in from Fallon to be able to complete the first out.
So one away, Kane Kepley still over at first, and it brings up Will Verdung, who's back in the DH spot. Last few games he's been playing third. But Sean Stevens, HiToms head coach, opts to put him back in the DH role.
It's been a little bit difficult for the HiToms to settle on a solidified group of guys in the infield, as we see Fernandez in the starting lineup over Kunin today and Verdung at DH with Josh across that stretch. 2 doubles, 3 home runs, and 14 RBIs.
He's currently working on a 2-0 count as another throw over to first. And Drew Needham as Kane Kepley is safe again.
And for good reason. Kane Kepley so far this year has really been deadly on the base paths as we take a look. 5 stolen bases in just across 50 plate appearances.
He's moving again. The throw from the catcher is not in time, and he will have yet another stolen base, David.
Well, hey, make it 6. That's a lot. That's something we've seen the HiToms do a lot this year, is after a couple consecutive pickoffs back to first, the first opportunity the runner gets, they're going on down to second, and Kepley was easily in there in time. The throw from Francis was wide right.
I'm sure Kepley will now be looking to move over to third. The HiToms have a man in scoring position with Will Verdung on a 3-0 count. Friesen looks at Kepley at first. Now delivers the 3-0, and it goes high for ball 4. So now 2 aboard for the HiToms with 1 out, and the cleanup man, Austin Deering, coming up.
Well, from the first 3 batters, we've seen 2 different types of at-bats. Kane Kepley and Will Verdung stayed very patient in the box and were able to draw very quick walks, while Andrew Fernandez was a little bit more aggressive swinging at the first pitch.
Austin Deering steps in the batter's box. Friesen looks back over at Kepley at second. Stares down Deering and delivers the pitch. That goes for a ball, so a 1-0 count for Austin Deering.
Talking to Deering before the game today, said he made a little bit of a swing adjustment. That top hand, he kind of only used to hold on by the fingertips. Now kind of keeps it a little bit more in the palm. And I will say he was whipping the end of the bat around really well during BP. It's one of the best I've seen him swing it in a while.
He's got 2 men aboard for the HiToms as the throw over to first is in time. Great read there from Ryan Friesen over to Drew Needham to get Will Verdung out at first base.
Yeah, that was a fantastic position over at first base from Drew Needham as he was set up almost over top the bag, was kind of straddling it in a sense, and Will Verdung, I mean, he couldn't even get the lead hand in there in time as that one was rifled over.
So now 2 outs for Austin Deering. The delivery from Friesen is on the outside for a ball.
It's been a little bit elevated and in and out depending on a righty or lefty batter. We saw a lot of elevated fastballs on Will Verdung just an at-bat ago, who was a righty, that were high and outside. And now the same thing to Deering, who's a lefty.
Next one from Friesen goes down the middle, called for a strike. So a 2-1 count now for Austin Deering with Kane Kepley occupying second base. 2 outs here in the top of the first.
Switched it up there with the breaking ball and executed perfectly.
Friesen looks over at Kepley. Now delivers the 2-1. Check swing from Deering is called for a strike, so a 2-2 count now.
An exact same pitch, exact same location. Deering's seen it twice now, and he just couldn't pull the trigger. Didn't think it was going to sneak across the plate.
2s across the scoreboard here in the first inning. Delivery from Friesen, swing and a miss by Austin Deering. HiToms leave 1 aboard. The Mustangs bats will be up to bat for the first time in the bottom of the first. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. And we welcome you back to Hooker Field here in Martinsville, Virginia. It's the HBT HiToms and Martinsville Mustangs squaring off. Just starting this one off now in the bottom of the first in a scoreless game. It's Nick Pazzo stealing for the HiToms, and he deals to Carter DeRiggi. First one is for a ball. On the year, Carter DeRiggi batting .342. He's got 8 RBIs and a home run to go along with it. Then a 1-0 count as Pazos delivers to him. Swings and misses for a strike, so a 1-1 count, no outs, just starting the bottom of the first.
Nick Pazos was the winning pitcher in the matchup that the HiToms got their first second-half victory in, as that was a week ago against the Boone Bigfoots. They run-ruled him in 8 innings.
We'll look for a similar performance tonight as he puts in the 1-1. It's hit on by DeRiggi. Great grab there from Nathan Crispin. He throws over to first, not in time. But for making your HiToms debut, Nathan Crispin made a good grab out there at second base.
Yeah, Crispin is absolutely an above-average defender, and some guys playing over at second, that might sneak into the outfield, but Crispin fully laying out, and I think with the speed of DeRiggi, it wasn't going to matter either way if the throw was going to be on line to Josh Karen. But
now up for the Mustangs is Adam Fallon. The rest of the lineup will go as follows: Drew Needham, Tyler Ross, Bo Ruscher, Lucas Carmichael, Ian Francis, Ross Robinette, and Christian Easley to round things off. As Pazos deals to Fallon, it goes for a ball. So a 1-0 count with Carter DeRiggi over at first base.
Pazos in that game a week ago went 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned run, and 7 strikeouts. It's the longest he's gone in an outing in his collegiate career.
This year, Fallon batting .293. 1-0 from Pazos. Goes down the middle, called for a strike.
Drops the arm slot there, kind of delivers sidearm right at the chest level with the HiToms logo.
Pazos gets set for the next delivery. He's got Carter DeRiggi to worry about over at first. Deals to Fallon. Goes on the outside for a ball. HiToms defense tonight. From the outfield, from left to right, it's Dylan Lewis, Kane Kepley, Austin Deering. Infield, Andrew Fernandez will be at third base. J.D. Suarez at shortstop, as we just mentioned. Making his HiToms debut, Nathan Crispin at second. Josh Karen not catching tonight. He'll be at first. And Noah Hill is catching for the HiToms. As Pazos puts in the next one, it goes high for another ball.
The elephant in the room from our standpoint is that this is a fantastic crowd out here in Martinsville. Very close to a sellout, as they got Friday night fireworks going on right after the conclusion of the game. The first pitch was delivered via helicopter as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. You know, the fireworks were the big selling point tonight, but for me, it was the helicopter landing.
Yeah, no kidding. Landing right in center field. It's pretty cool.
3-1 from Pazos is high for a ball, so 2 aboard for the Mustangs in a similar spot that the HiToms were when they were up to bat. And out comes Sean Stevens for a quick chat with Pazos as the first 2 batters he looks at reach base. Entire infield comes in, so does Noah Hill from his catching spot.
It's been a week since Pazos has thrown, and honestly, the HiToms not really used to playing in front of this many fans, and so you could kind of tell. I'm not sure if you could pick it up over our microphones or not. However, the intensity and the energy from the top of the first now into the bottom of the first, it is absolutely picked up here. It's kind of buzzing.
It's a great Friday night crowd here in Martinsville, especially with the stadium that's also under construction, too. The fans out in the right field line are almost in a cage, which is not something you see in every ballpark.
Not typically, no. It's definitely an interesting setup here during construction, but very excited to see what Hooker Field looks like going forwards after the renovations are complete.
One of a few ballparks going through extensive renovations in the CPL, as it's Drew Needham now batting for the Mustangs. Pazos deals to him, high for a ball. Needham this year batting .188, has 9 RBIs and 3 home runs. Pazos gets the sign from Noah Hill. Looks back over at second and throws over to second, and it gets away. The throw goes high over J.D. Suarez's head, and both runners are able to advance a bag.
Kepley running that ball in almost into the infield turf there, making sure that an errant throw doesn't lead to a runner coming in to score.
Pazos had a little too much on that one to J.D. Suarez at second. And it puts Carter DeRiggi over at third, Adam Fallon at second.
Pazos just looks a little bit shaky right now. He looks like he's rushing his delivery just a tiny bit. So you got to wonder if this atmosphere might be getting to him just a little bit. He's got to play a factor.
He's in a 1-0 count with Drew Needham right now. Delivers that 1-0, and it goes low for a ball.
That was a fastball just low and just in. Didn't miss by too much.
Also squats down. From the chest, delivers the 2-0. It shoots low, so it's a hitter's count now for Drew Needham. Needham out of Western Carolina. He added 209 in his junior year. Two on for the Mustangs, no outs here in the bottom of the third. Pazos kick, steals the 3-0, down the middle, called for a strike. He needed to see that.
He definitely did. Maybe a little bit of a generous call there. It was riding the inside part of the plate on the left-hander. However, 3-0 count. Get the situational strike, and hopefully that can get Pazos back into a rhythm.
Pazos tosses in the 3-1. It just angles low. So bases are loaded for the Martinsville Mustangs here in the bottom of the first with no outs. Carter Duriggi over at third, Adam Fallon at second, and Drew Needham at first, with the cleanup man coming up in Tyler Ross.
Yeah, so far the story of the game, Duriggi led off with an infield single that was gloved by Chrisman over at second base, but the throw was just offline to Josh Kerr, and Adam Fallon walked. Both runners moved up on a wild throw back to second from Nick Pazos, and now Drew Needham occupies first. That's how we have him loaded in the bottom of the first.
Tyler Ross up to bat, his first look at a pitch. He's outside for a ball. Ross out of Bowling Green. In the CPL this season, he has a .257 batting average, 12 RBIs, and has been walked 15 times. He sits in a 1-0 count right now. Bases loaded, no outs. Bottom of the first. Delivery from Pazos is fouled off by Ross.
Pazos needed that one there, too, as that's an off-speed that was kind of drifting down and in. Part of the barrel was caught there on it by Ross, as it was just a slow chopper over towards the fence next to the fans on the first base side.
Be a 1-1 from Pazos. Puts in the pitch. It hits the turf. Noah Hill turns around and grabs the ball, but he doesn't grab it without a Mustangs run coming in via Carter Duriggi.
That ball was down and away, and not much Noah Hill could do there either, as it just gets all the way to the backstop. Fairly deep backstop here at Martinsville as well, so with padding on the concrete wall behind home plate, not a chance to really get a ricochet. So a run will come in to score. Both runners move up, so now occupying second and third. It's 1-0 Mustangs in the bottom of the first.
And unfortunately, David, we saw that a lot last night. Balls that just got away from the catcher, not their fault necessarily, but they would hit the backstop, and the Chili Peppers would be able to easily score. Next one from Pazos is, again, fouled towards the right-hand side into that cage area here at Hooker Field.
See what Pazos wants to do here on a 2-2. He's gotten two swings at balls down and in. Wonder if he tries to go back to that breaking pitch, or maybe tries to change the eye level with an elevated fastball just away.
Gives a nod to Noah Hill. Takes a deep breath, puts in the 2-2. It's hit high into the air. Chrisman is looking up to it. He has called it, and he's able to make the grab for the first out.
Well, and Pazos went with the latter half there. He went with the elevated fastball that was working its way towards the outside part of the plate on the righty. Just gets him to get under it, as that change in eye level after two foul balls down and in was able to draw the pop out. So the first out is recorded, still runners on second and third.
And it brings up Bo Ruscher, who spent some time earlier this season with the HiToms, now playing his fourth game for the Mustangs tonight. And he's got two in scoring position with one out in a 1-0 game. Pazos delivers to Ruscher. He fouls it off.
Well, that ball was hit hard, too. He got just under the barrel as it went 90 degrees right behind him over towards the fans on the first base side.
In those 3 games, Ruscher puts at a .250 batting average with 1 RBI. In an 0-1 count now as Pazos kicks, puts in that 1-0, goes low for a ball.
So you got to wonder how this at-bat feels for Bo, too.
Yeah, he's looking at all of his former teammates right now.
I guess if there's one guy, if you're Martinsville, that you want to be in this order, it's him, as he's seen pretty much all this HiToms pitching. Hasn't been against it, however, still been able to play with the eye test.
Sticks across the scoreboard as Pazos puts in the next pitch, and again it's fouled off by Rusher. This one behind the construction area and grandstand.
Whew, that was close to our cars, AJ.
Yeah, unfortunately. Now I think I should have parked further back.
Yeah, maybe so. There's a road running pretty much right behind the newly built press box, and right on the other side of that road are our cars. So didn't think we might be in danger tonight, but we could be.
I didn't think of that either. It's a 1-2 count for Rusher. Pazos kicks, puts in that pitch, and it gets away. That was fouled off, actually. So count still sits at 1-2 with 1 out.
Pazos has gone fastball down and in, breaking pitch, and now an elevated fastball up there. Rusher was just able to get the bottom part of that baseball.
It's Adam Fallon over at third. Drew Needham occupies second. And Bo Rusher batting for the Mustangs. Pazos takes his time preparing this pitch. Deep breath from him. He puts it in. It goes low. Good job by Noah Hill getting a glove on it to prevent it from getting away from him.
Yeah, the feet come out from under him and almost used his thighs to try and make sure that one was blocked up.
So it's a 2-2 count now for Rusher. Pazos fires it in. It's just chopped foul by Rusher. So it's his 4th foul ball of the at-bat. So a strong at-bat from the former Hitom, Bo Rusher.
Mustangs leading this one 1-0. It was an infield single, a walk, and then a score on a wild pitch.
Pazos brings the glove to his chest. Fires in the 2-2. Swing and a miss by Rusher, and there's 2 outs now for the Mustangs. It was a good at-bat by Rusher. He stayed alive for a while, but Pazos was able to get him to swing and miss. And it brings up Lucas Carmichael as we enter the bottom half of the Mustangs order.
Pazos' body language from the first 3 batters to these last 2 has been much different. He looks a lot more comfortable on the mound. He seems to be settling in, and he's mixing his pitches a lot better as well.
Lucas Carmichael out of William and Mary has a .259 batting average.
Fastball rung high and in on the lefty. You want to talk about a presence in the box. Lucas Carmichael is a big dude.
Stands at 6'3", 185.
He almost looks bigger than that.
Yeah.
And we're looking down on him, too.
1-0 from Pazos. Goes low. Noah Hill nearly lost it as it looks as though it clipped Lucas Carmichael. I didn't see anything.
Maybe clipped him in the shin guard? I'm not too sure there is.
No argument from Noah Hill or Pazos. So
Noah talking to our home plate umpire just a little bit. Small conference between the 2 of them.
If it did hit him, he was wearing those shin guards that you typically see batters wear, so it obviously clipped him in a good spot because he didn't show any sign of grimace or anything. So bases are once again loaded for the Mustangs with Ian Francis up to bat. Pazos looks over at third, looks back at the batter, kicks and delivers to Francis. He looks at 1, down the middle, called for a strike.
Yeah, that ball worked its way back over the heart of the plate on the right-handed batter. It almost got him locked up a little bit. Wasn't sure what to do. Couldn't take the barrel off his shoulder.
Deep breath from Pazos. He puts in the next one for Francis. It's going to be chopped just foul. Andrew Fernandez had a good look at it as well.
Yeah,
Over
Fernandez,
at third.
I mean, that ball was 10 or 15 feet into foul territory, and Fernandez almost still got a glove on it.
Andrew Fernandez at third base tonight, occupying the mask that he always wears because of an injury he suffered. You know, 2 from Pazos with 2 outs. Delivery is fouled off back into the grandstands.
Another thing that's really unique about all this chain link fencing around is down next to us to the left on the third base side, it's almost like a big cage all the kids are playing football in. They're all running around. There's probably 60 or 70 of them, it looks like, that are just having a ball out here.
It's a great view of the left field line.
Oh, it's fantastic, too. I mean, if you want to watch a ball game as well.
House. Next 0-2 from Pazos is on the outside for a ball, so it's a 1-2 count.
That one didn't miss by too much either. It's almost the same exact reaction that Francis had to the first pitch that was called for a strike. Kind of got locked up. Couldn't tell if he should swing at it or not, but drifts just above the zone.
2 outs, 1-2 count. Mustangs lead 1-0 here in the bottom of the first. Here's the 1-2 from Pazos. Check swing, and it goes for a strike, and that ends the inning. The Mustangs leave the bases loaded. Good recovery by Nick Pazos, as it's a 1-0 game as we head into the second inning. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. And we welcome you back to Hooker Field here in Martinsville, Virginia. It's the Mustangs and HiToms dueling it out here in a West Division matchup in the CPL. Ryan Friesen on the bump still for the Mustangs. He went through 4 batters, so it now puts him at Josh Karen, who's at first base tonight for HBT. Next one from Friesen is hit on by Karen. It's looped right out to second base, and Tyler Ross is able to collect it for the first out.
Yeah, that one caught the inside part of the bat. It was a broken bat, little flare, and not too much work having to be done out there from the second baseman, Ross.
So it's J.D. Suarez up to bat now for the HiToms. With 1 out here in the top of the second, Mustangs occupied a narrow 1-0 lead. Both of these teams are working off of back-to-backs. HiToms played the Chili Peppers at home at Truist Point last night as Friesen puts in the first one for Suarez low for a ball. And then the Mustangs were away against the Pilots last night. They fell 6-2. And then tomorrow, the HiToms travel to Macon, Georgia, as Suarez puts a high one up into the air. Friesen points at it. He's going to let his infield do the work as Tyler Ross is able to grab it for the second out. So 2 balls. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 balls, back-to-back flyouts right there to Tyler Ross.
Yeah.
He's getting his money's worth out at second base in this inning.
It's Dylan Lewis now for the HiToms with 2 outs in the top of the second. Kick from Friesen. He puts it in for Lewis. He fouls it back over the grandstand area. As I was alluding to, the HiToms go to Macon, Georgia tomorrow to play the Bacon. And the Mustangs also have a game tomorrow, too, against Boone. Another one from Friesen is way on the outside for a ball.
The Macon Bacon.
It's a fun phrase to say.
Yeah, no kidding. Some good branding if I've ever heard of it.
1-1 from Friesen is a swing and a miss by Lewis.
Oof. That ball bounced well in the turf, too. Had him fooled, that's for sure.
1-2 count, 2 on, nobody on for the HiToms. Friesen's next one is low and no swing from Lewis. So
it's really interesting, too, because then Lewis on that last one, he normally has a decently wide stance, but his feet were maybe 6 inches apart. Now he'll widen it back out again.
Friesen puts it in, and it's on the outside corner, so a full count for Dylan Lewis with 2 outs. And 2 outs is something the HiToms batters like. They tend to get a lot of hits when they have 2 gone.
Hey, you're right. It really does feel like they kind of get things going with 2 outs in an inning.
As Lewis gets walked, or rather he doesn't. He was for sure thought he was walked when our umpire calls for a strike. So the HiToms go 1-2-3. The Mustangs bats will be back up in the bottom of the second. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. Welcome back to Hooker Field here in Martinsville, Virginia. Going into our bottom half of the second inning. Nick Pazzo still dealing for the HiToms. Got in a bit of a trouble in that first inning. He loaded the bases twice, but was able to leave them loaded after getting 2 big strikeouts. He's in the bottom of the Mustangs order, starting off with Reese Robinette. And as Pazzo deals to him, he fouls it back into the grandstand netting. Left-hander Robinette behind 0-1, no outs, just starting in this bottom half of the second. Pazos deals another one, and it goes low for a ball, so a 1-1 count. On the year, Robinette's batting .188, has 4 RBIs. Pazos kicks, puts in the 1-1. Another one fouled back from Robinette, so he goes behind 1-2. Pazos looks at his catcher, Noah Hill. They get on the same wavelength for this 1-2 delivery from Pazos. He kicks, puts in the pitch. It goes way high. That one got away from Pazos, so it's a 2-2 count now. Pazos back on the bump. It's a Astrofield infield, but interestingly, the pitching mound for here at Hooker Field has dirt on it. It's still AstroTurf, but they just put dirt on it. I'm assuming to give that pitchers that regular feel that they're used to, even though the HiToms have played on plenty of turf fields this year. Pazos lifts his cap briefly. He gets set for a payoff delivery. Base is empty for the Mustangs. Payoff pitch from Pazos is a swing and a miss, and it retires Reese Robinette. So it's the bottom man in the lineup for the Mustangs, and Christian Easley now up to bat. Easley this year batting .307, so they place him at the bottom of the order, probably to get on base for that top of the order. He's got 10 RBIs, has been walked 13 times, 1 out for the Mustangs here. Pazos puts it in to Easley. It's outside for ball 1. Easley out of University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Just wrapped up his junior season. Next one from Easley is hit well deep, but it's in foul territory. He definitely has the bat to get it out of Hooker Field. One right now for Christian Easley with 1 out, nobody on for the Mustangs. Pazos kicks, deals, and it goes on the outside for ball 2. It's the top of the Mustangs order waiting on deck, starting with Carter DeRiggi. Easley back in the batter's box. He's ready to go, so too is Pazos. Deep breath from Pazos. He puts in the next pitch, and it's again drifting to the outside. So a hitter's count now for Christian Easley. Mustangs have a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the second. Pazos nods to Noah Hill. Delivers from his chest. It goes high for ball 4. So it loads up Christian Easley at first, and that is a dangerous man to be at first base. He leads the team with 15 stolen bases, and he's tied for 4th with 15 stolen bags for the CPL. So he can be a very dangerous base runner. And he had 37 stolen bases in the spring, and the year before that he had 53, which led the team and conference. Top of the order as Pazos throws back over to Easley. It will not be the first time he does that. It's Carter DeRiggi batting now with 1 out, 1-0 Mustang advantage. Pazos delivers to DeRiggi. He puts one out into left field. Dylan Lewis is running onto it. He's not able to make the grab. Easley is around second, approaching third. He's being waved home. The throw from Lewis to Suarez is not in time. Home, and the Mustangs have a 2-0 lead. It's an RBI double from Carter DeRiggi. It was put hard off the bat into left field. Dylan Lewis reached out but was unable to make the grab, and then it reached all the way to the advertisement signs here at Hooker Field. Lewis had to pull it out of the dirt. He threw over to J.D. Suarez, who threw to Noah Hill, but easily using that pace was able to score to make it a 2-0 game with 1 out here in the bottom of the second. And Adam Fallon now up to bat for the Mustangs. Pazos looks over at DeRiggi, deals now to Fallon. He shows bunt, but it goes foul towards the HiToms dugout. HiToms making their 3rd visit here to Martinsville this season. They'll play them a few more times. Mustangs, along with the Zookeepers, a common opponent for the Tommies because of how close the two teams are. Only about an hour drive from Thomasville here to Martinsville. Pazos looks at second, puts in the 0-1. That's hit on by Fallon. DeRiggi's going to reach third, and it's a base hit for Fallon. He is out, though, at first. So now 2 outs as Carter DeRiggi's able to get over to second. So Drew Needham, the third man in the Mustangs batting order, up to bat now. He's got his teammate Carter DeRiggi over at third with 2 outs. Pazos deals to him just low outside of the strike zone for a ball. Drew Needham was walked back in the first inning. Pazos kicks, puts in the 1-0 in a similar spot as the last one, so it's a 2-0 count with 2 outs. Carter DeRiggi over at third in a 2-0 Mustangs advantage. Pazos places the 2-0, and it's a swing and a miss by Needham, so a 2-1 count now for Drew Needham with 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Needham back in the batter's box, ready to go for this 2-1 delivery from Pazos. He chops it off foul behind the home plate. So 2's across the scoreboard now with a Mustangs 2-0 lead. What is a very cloudy Martinsville night, hot and humid to go along with it. Pazos puts in the 2-2. It's going to be looping foul down the right field line into the bushes. That one was nearly fair towards Austin Deering out in right field. So Needham stays alive in a 2-2 count. Pazos takes a brief look at third. Now delivers the 2-2. It's hit fair. That one was trickling down the foul line. The throw from Andrew Fernandez over to first is not in time, and it's now a 3-0 game off the bat of Drew Needham. Carter DeRiggi's able to score from third, and it's an RBI single for Drew Needham. The ball that just trickled into fair territory towards Andrew Fernandez. There was no real necessary need for him to throw home, as DeRiggi was going to be safe no matter what. He opted to throw over to first, but he couldn't reach Josh Karen in time. So 1 aboard, 2 outs for Tyler Ross, the cleanup man for the Mustangs, and now a 3-0 Mustangs advantage. Pazos checked over at first, now delivers. It goes low for Ross for ball 1. Next one from Pazos is called for a strike. So a 1-1 count now, 2 outs. This season, Ross has 3 extra base hits, and he's been walked 15 times. It's been a struggle thus far for Nick Pazos in walking batters. He's in a 1-1 count here. He puts it in. It's fouled into the netting. Count goes to 1-2 with 2 outs and a 3-0 Mustangs advantage. Pazos takes off his hat for a moment, wipes the sweat off his neck, and is now ready to go for a 1-2 delivery. Drew Needham's at first for Martinsville. He's on the run, gets away from Noah Hill, and Drew Needham can easily get over to second. That one was fired in from Pazos. Noah Hill couldn't get a glove on it, hits the backstop, and Needham is able to take second. Means it's a 2-2 count now with 2 outs for Nick Pazos. Pazos tosses in the 2-2. Ross is able to get contact on it. It's out towards center field. Kane Kepley struggles to grab it at first. Ross is sliding into second. It gets away from J.D. Suarez. Now near the HiToms bullpen, as no throw over to third from Nick Pazos. So a few errors there from the HiToms means it's a 4-0 lead now for the Mustangs. Carter DeRiggi's able to score from second off the bat of Tyler Ross. It went into shallow center field. Austin Deering and Kane Kepley both converged onto it. Kepley couldn't quite get his glove onto it, and then he threw over to J.D. Suarez at second base. It got away from J.D., and it means Tyler Ross is able to cruise all the way over to third. So now a 4-0 Mustangs lead, and Noah Hill is going to have a quick talk with his pitcher, Nick Pazos. Bo Ruscher up to bat for the Mustangs. Tyler Ross was able to get an RBI triple out of it, but some poor HiToms throwing means he's at third base, and Drew Needham was able to score. So the meeting between Noah Hill and Pazos is over, and he's ready to go to face Bo Ruscher. So the scorebook has it as 3 errors charged to the HiToms. Now a 4-0 game. Pazos deals to Ruscher, gets out of the glove of Noah Hill. He doesn't know where it quite is yet, as Tyler Ross doesn't opt to run home, as it was right on the left field foul line. But it took a weird bounce out of Noah Hill's glove, and he initially thought it bounced behind him as he looked over his shoulder, but then quickly realized it was right in front of him. Either way, though, Tyler Ross remains at third. Bo Ruscher's in a 1-0 count with 2 outs. It's been a long bottom of the second inning here. Mustangs have been able to tack on 3 runs. Next one to Ruscher just sinks low for ball 2. So Ruscher goes ahead 2-0 in the count, 4-0 game. 2 outs. Tyler Ross is at third. Pazos kicks, puts in the pitch. Bo Ruscher loops one out into center field. Kane Kepley's got his arms spread out. He says he has it, and he does, for the third out. But it's a third out that doesn't come without 3 more Mustangs runs. They put the score at 4-0. The HiToms bats will be back up in the top of the third. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. And welcome you back to Hooker Field. It's now a 4-0 Martinsville Mustangs lead over the HPT HiToms. As Noah Hill's up to bat, he gets contact on the bat on his first at-bat. And at third base, Reese Robinette was unable to collect it. He ran right towards it, and it almost went off his foot. And he couldn't get a glove on it, so Noah Hill has a base hit. It was his first look at a pitch tonight, and he gets contact on it. So with no outs, it's Nathan Chrisman now up to bat, who's making his first appearance in a HiToms uniform wearing number 18. And Chrisman loops one out over to right field, but it's fouled. Ryan Friesen still on the bump for the Mustangs. And his first pitch to Noah Hill goes for a base hit, as Reese Robinette was unable to collect it at third base. And currently right now, Nathan Chrisman is behind 0-1 with Noah Hill at first. Friesen kicks, puts in the next one for Chrisman, and it goes high for ball one. So with no outs, HiToms have Noah Hill at first base. Friesen throws over to first, as Noah Hill doesn't even need to slide. He gets a foot on the bag. At first base tonight for the Mustangs is Drew Needham. One put in from Friesen. It hits the turf, and Ian Francis is able to collect it. The throw back over to Friesen was not the best one from Francis. Friesen had to kind of almost get down on his knees to collect that ball. It's a 2-1 count for Nathan Chrisman, who's already displayed his great defensive work at second base. In the first inning, he made a good reach and grab. As the next one from Friesen is placed just on the outside for ball three. So a hitter's count now for Chrisman with Noah Hill at first. The 3-1 is on the outside for ball four. So the HiToms, bottom of the order, gets to work early. They are aboard on base with no outs, and Kane Kepley up to bat. Noah Hill's now at second, and Nathan Chrisman with a walk is over at first. As the Mustangs skipper comes out of the dugout umpire. Not sure what it is about. Perhaps maybe a lineup card thing, which has been a storyline against these two teams. The Mustangs manager, I guess, accused, you could politely say, Sean Stevens of not putting the full roster on the lineup card when the two teams first faced. And now all three umpires are going to talk. So clearly the Mustangs manager pointed out something. And Sean Stevens, who's also the third base coach when the HiToms are up to bat, is not look happy right now, as this is a story that he's seen one too many times against this team. And the only assumption I would make, it's with Nathan Chrisman, and clearly the Mustangs pointed something out with him. It's making his HiToms debut tonight. It's his first game in the CPL, as our home plate umpire walks over to Sean Stevens and trying to read lips here, but can't quite tell, as now their backs are faced to me. As again, the Mustang skipper came out of their dugout to talk to our home plate umpire, and then our home plate umpire went over to the other two umpires, and they all converged for a conversation. Now, two of those umpires are having a talk with HiToms head coach Sean Stevens, and it's about the lineup card, because that is what the Mustangs head coach showed, as Stevens is looking really closely at that lineup card, and really not. I wouldn't assume it's a problem with Kane Kepley, because he batted in the first inning. It would have to be with Nathan Chrisman, who, as I've stated, is making his first appearance for the HiToms. And perhaps the Mustangs All right, so had to step away there briefly. Big thanks to David Katzenmeyer, who's also on the call with me tonight. He's down in the HiToms dugout for these few innings, and he just got some clarification. They are disputing Nathan Chrisman, his number, because he's making his debut. So it's the second time the Mustangs have caught, as I put that in quotations, the HiToms with their lineup card. But either way, Chrisman remains at first base. So yeah, I don't really know what the Mustangs were trying to accomplish from that. I don't think the umpires would disqualify Chrisman for wearing the different jersey number, or maybe the number he wasn't initially assigned to. But either way, after that big dialogue discussion between the managers and umpires, we're ready to go with Kane Kepley up to bat, and he lines one out into the infield. The throw over to first is in time, so 2 outs now. Or rather, it would just be 1 out, as Noah Hill is retired at third base. It was one chopped from Kane Kepley over to the shortstop, Carter Riggy. He tossed it to Reese Robinette, who had his foot on third. So it means there's 1 out. Kane Kepley is able to reach first base, and Noah Chrisman is over at second now, with Andrew Fernandez up to bat, as Fernandez show bunt. It's a looper that goes into the HiToms dugout. Andrew Fernandez on the year batting .219, has 2 RBIs, and has been walked 7 times. He's batting second tonight for HBT. Friesen looks over at second. It's Nathan Crispin there. He deals another bunt from Fernandez. Friesen's running over. He collects it, throws it up to first as Fernandez ran into the glove of the first baseman Drew Needham, and Nathan Crispin's able to score. So no interference or anything, as it will be an RBI single from Andrew Fernandez. He's over at first. And I think now the Mustangs are going to protest that Fernandez ran into the first baseman, Drew Needham, which knocked his glove off of his arm, and the ball then scattered near the grandstand area, and it would allow Nathan Crispin to score. And it put Kane Kepley all the way over at third with Andrew Fernandez now at first. And Will Verdung, the DH for the HiToms, coming up to bat. In a 4-1 Mustangs advantage, but the HiToms off to a strong top of the third. Men on the corners for them. Will Verdung up to bat. Friesen dealing for the Mustangs. Puts in the 0-1 to Verdung. Andrew Fernandez is running. No throw from the catcher Ian Francis. And Fernandez uses his speed to get over to second. So the bunt works for Fernandez. He's able to reach first safely and now steals for second. So Fernandez is over at second. Kane Kepley's at third. Will Verdung's up to bat with 1 out here in the top of the third. Will Verdung sits in a 2-0 count as Ryan Friesen calls time briefly to retuck his jersey in. Gets his glove back on his arm and is ready to go for the 2-0 with 1 out. Fernandez has a lead over at second. Friesen deals to Verdung. It goes low for ball. So 3-0 count now for Will Verdung. Verdung this season has 14 RBIs and a .363 batting average. The 3-0 from Friesen is on the outside, and the HiToms are able to load the bases here in the top of the third with 1 out. And Austin Deering coming up to bat. Will Verdung's at first via the walk. Andrew Fernandez over at second, and Kane Kepley at third. In a 4-1 Mustangs lead, and now Ian Francis is going to have a talk with his pitcher, Ryan Friesen, and so too is the Mustangs manager, and the infield collapses on the pitcher's mound to talk things over with Ryan Friesen. In a 4-1 game, it's been a strong top of the third here from the HiToms. They got the bases loaded right now with Austin Deering batting fourth tonight, up to bat. Deering this year batting .317. He's been walked 14 times and has 11 RBIs. So just a mound visit currently going on, and it looks as though that's going to end the night for Ryan Friesen. So it's a pitching change for the Martinsville Mustangs as the HiToms have the bases loaded and are striking in a 4-1 game. We're going to step aside for just a moment. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. And we welcome you back to Hooker Field. Austin Deering goes to work on a new Mustangs pitcher with the bases loaded for the HiToms. It's a 4-1 game. It's Avery Can now dealing for the Mustangs. The bases loaded. He delivers to Deering. Swing and a miss by Austin Deering. So it's a 1-2 count now. Next one from Cannon to Deering. Goes low. So it's King Kepley over at third base for the HiToms. Andrew Fernandez on second and Wilver Dung at first. With Austin Deering up to bat in a 2-1 count with one out here in the top of the third. Mustangs lead 4-1. HiToms are able to pull a run back so far here in the top of the third. And we'll look to do more. Here's the next one from Cannon. Hit out into left field by Austin Deering. Easily has a read on it. He's able to make the grab. Tagging is Kane Kepley, and he will score. So a sac fly from Austin Deering means it's a 4-2 game. So Kane Kepley able to score. Brings up Josh Karen. Avery Cannon on the year, making his 6th appearance. None of those in starts. We'll go to work here on Josh Karen. With Andrew Fernandez at second, Wilver Dung over at first. Delivery from Cannon. Check swing by Karen. It means it's a 0-1 count as that one was in the strike zone. Looks over at second. Kicks, puts in the 0-1. That one does sink low for a ball, so 1-1 count now with 2 outs. Here in the top of the third, HiToms have pulled 2 runs back to make it a 4-2 game. Fernandez has a lead over at second, so does Verdung at first. Cannon looks at second, delivers to Karen. He fouls it back into the grandstand. J.D. Suarez awaiting on deck for the HiToms. Karen's behind 1-2 on the count right now in a 4-2 game. Karen this year has 4 RBIs. Avery gets the sign from Ian Francis. He'll toss in the 1-2. Goes low. The no throw by Ian Francis. He faked the throw to Wilver Dung at second, and both runners are able to advance. So Fernandez is now over at third, and Wilver Dung at second base with 2s across the scoreboard for Josh Karen. Cannon from the belt delivers the 2-2. Hit up in the air by Karen. Second baseman Tyler Ross has a glove on it for that third out. But the HiToms get 2 runs back. They make it a 4-2 game. The Mustangs bats will go to work in the bottom of the third. Listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. Welcome back to Hooker Field. It's the Martinsville Mustangs 4, the HBT HiToms 2. They had a strong top of the third, able to get 2 runs back. With Nick Pazos still dealing for the HiToms. He faces Lucas Carmichael, who puts his first one foul into the turf. And it brings a 1-0 count with no outs, just starting the bottom of the third.
Yet AJ getting to go down to the field for the last inning to go and grab some pictures that you could check out over on social media on our HiToms Twitter. However, this is definitely one of the smallest zones that we've seen on both sides all year.
Pazos' next delivery is low for ball 1.
And when I'm talking a small zone, I mean maybe a little bit bigger than a baseball. It feels like it has to be almost middle for this to get called an automatic strike.
It's probably the reason why we've seen so many balls called tonight.
Most definitely, as both pitchers I've seen been complaining and chirping in the dugouts.
Pazos puts in the 1-1, and our umpire deems that one a ball, so it's a 2-1 count with no outs for Lucas Carmile, who was hit by a pitch from Pazos back in the first. Deep breath from Pazos, delivers the 2-1, swing and a miss by Carmichael, puts the count at 2-2.
Yeah, those 2 runs the HiToms were able to get in the top half of this frame are going to go a long way, especially if they can continue to get the bats rolling. And the one thing that really impressed me the most was that the bottom half of the order is what's got it started.
Right, William and Mary, Carmichael led the team with 15 doubles and 45 walks. He swings and misses, rather that was fouled off. So count, he stays alive at a 2-2 count. But as I was alluding to, 15 doubles, 45 walks. This season in the CPL, he's been walked 20 times and only has 1 double. So needs to work on that category in the Coastal Plain League. He's ready to go for a 2-2 count now from Nick Pazos. Pazos gets a sign from Noah Hill, who started things off for the HiToms in that top of the third. Delivery from Pazos is going to be chopped foul down the left field line. So Carmichael staying alive on a 2-2 count. And a packed Martinsville crowd here tonight. So they can enjoy fireworks after the game, and as me and David enjoyed the start of the game, a little helicopter landing for the ceremonial first pitch.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm looking forward to the fireworks as well.
Hopefully there's some more fireworks for the HiToms. Pazos puts in the next one, and it goes low. It shoots off of Noah Hill, so 1 aboard for the Mustangs.
Couldn't tell if it hit Noah Hill or if it hit the back toe.
And the way that Carmichael is walking over to first, it definitely hit him.
So that's the second hit by pitch of the night for Carmichael.
First one, he showed no signs of fatigue or grimace, but this one, he's clearly hobbling over to first base. So it brings up Ian Francis in the bottom of the order for the Mustangs. Francis struck out back in the first inning, as Lucas Carmile just running off the apparent injury he suffered when he got hit by Pazos. He stays on first. No outs for the Mustangs. Francis is ready to go. Pazos kicks, and Francis showed bunt. It went low for a ball.
Andrew Fernandez was already moving in before he even showed bunt there. Good anticipation from the third baseman.
Fernandez has displayed on plenty of occasions his defensive attributes.
Looks like Brady Guthrie getting warm in the Tommy's pen.
Another showed bunt as Carmichael has to slide over back into first. He's safe, and Francis is ahead 2-0 in the count.
You know, Noah Hill came set for a back pick there, and honestly, I think if he guns it on a good line, that Carmichael's out over at first base. It took him a little bit to get back to the bag.
And, of course, Carmichael, he got hit by a pitch. And that's why he's at first, and if you're the HiToms, why not throw over there? Because he's clearly a little shooken up after getting hit. 2-0 from Pazos. This one's a bunt in fair territory. Noah Hill collects it, throws over to first. It gets away from Josh Karen. Carmichael's around third. He's being waved home. Francis is coming into third. He slides in at third. Carmichael's able to score. It's a 5-2 Mustang lead.
Noah Hill just trying to rush the throw there. Instead of setting his feet, he had a little bit of time to do it. He just kind of let his momentum take him to the ground and almost just sidearm underhand threw it to Carrot. It missed to his left. A diving effort from Chrisman as he was coming to back up Josh Carrot at first baseman. The second baseman dives, unable to get it, bouncing off of his glove and rolled all the way into the Mustangs bullpen, and that allowed the slow runner in Carmichael to go from first all the way to home.
And Francis is over at third. So Carmichael, who, as we alluded to, was hit, and he was kind of, jogging or almost hobbling home, but he was able to get home safely. It's a 5-2 game now as Pazos puts in the delivery for Reese Robinette.
Well, that's a perfect example of put the ball in play and let chaos ensue.
That is exactly what happened. So now a 5-2 game, no outs here in the bottom of the third. Pazos delivers, goes low again for another ball. So Pazos having a brief chat with the shortstop, J.D. Suarez, just to go over a few things. So Pazos now back on the pitcher's mound. He's ready to go. So too is Robinette. He's ahead 2-0 in the count with no outs. Ian Francis is over at third. Delivery from Pazos is near the middle, but our home plate umpire does not call it a strike, so it's a 3-0 count now.
It's another one of those pitches that you feel like it's many other umpires behind the plate, and that's a cold strike, but not tonight.
Hitter's count for Robinette now. Pazos delivers to him. It was high on the corner, ball 4, so men on the corners now for the Mustangs.
Another borderline one.
Yep.
And I mean, I can sound as frustrated as I want, and this team can be as frustrated as it wants, but it has gone both ways tonight. It's been on kind of both ends, especially in the last 2 innings here, how small that zone is.
So out comes Eric Owen, the HiToms pitching coach, to talk over things with Nick Pazos.
We'll see if this will be a move to Brady Guthrie. Wouldn't assume that it would be, considering Eric Owen is the one walking out there onto the mound.
Yeah, typically it's Sean Stevens coming out when there's a pitching change. So he does not have any outs here in the bottom of the third. So through 2 full innings of work, Pazos has allowed 5 runs. He has 3 strikeouts, and he's walked 4 batters. So the meeting over between Eric Owen and the rest of the HiToms infield. Pazos has some work to do here in the bottom of the third.
Yeah, he does, and I had a chance to talk to Nick for just a little bit, and said he feels pretty good down there. I mean, he feels pretty good on the mound, especially after that second inning of work, and although 3 runs came across in that second inning, he felt like he was hitting his spots pretty well, and as he described it to me, I can't get anything inside, I can't get anything outside, I can't get anything up, and I can't get anything down, and I don't know where to go.
He has looked dominant at times when he's been called for strikes. He puts one low for Christian Easily. Easily was walked his last time up. He's ahead here, 1-0. Next one is airmailed by Pazos, but Robinette does not opt to go home as it hit off the backstop, and that one bouncing the right way for the HiToms, right into the glove of Noah Hill.
Perfectly right on the back edge of the backstop, so it caught the backstop and then a little bit of concrete, so it could ricochet right back to Noah Hill. The HiToms very fortunate on that.
In sports, sometimes you need a little luck, and the HiToms got it there.
Well, hey, regardless of what the zone has looked like tonight, there's no way that would go for a strike anyway.
No, definitely not. It's a 5-2 Mustangs advantage. Delivery from Pazos is called for a strike. Wasn't sure which way our umpire was going to go with that one. Brings the count to 2-1 with Reese Robinette over at third. Christian Easily at bat. Pazos delivers to Easily. That one skims low for another ball, so a 3-1 count now.
It was a good frame job by Noah Hill as well. Brought it nicely back up into the zone, too.
No outs. Bottom third, Mustangs are ahead 5-2. Deep breath from Pazos. He puts in the next one. Was hit off the bat, foul from Easley. So he stays alive with a full count.
Easley is a very heavy fastball hitter. His only home run actually came against the HiToms. Mayor Beaker was on the mound in their last trip up to Martinsville on a fastball. That is definitely what he sits and what he zones into.
Pazos gives a sign to Noah Hill. Payoff pitch from Pazos is on the outside for a ball. So bases are once again loaded for the Mustangs. And unfortunately for the HiToms, this is a story, a scenario we saw against the Chili Peppers last time where they were able to load the bases. And out comes Sean Stevens to most likely end the night for Nick Pazos.
Yeah, it looks like it will be the end. We would assume that Brady Guthrie would be the new arm coming into the game. However, been a difficult night for both pitchers as neither of them can make it through the third inning.
So out trots Brady Guthrie. He'll come in for the HiToms. They're in trouble right now. They got the bases loaded for the Mustangs. We'll step aside. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network. Welcome back to Hooker Field here in Martinsville, Virginia. Brady Guthrie's now on the bump, subbing in for Nick Pazos. His first pitch to the top of the Mustangs order, and Carter DeRiggi goes low for a ball.
This will be one of the earliest that we've seen Brady Guthrie in a game so far this year for the Tommies. It's the hard right-handed thrower from Florida.
Next one from Guthrie is hit on by DeRiggi. It's out into center field, into the glove of Kane Kepley. Tagging is Robinette, and he will score to make it a 6-2 ball game.
Yeah, the ball is too deep. No chance that Kane Kepley was getting any kind of a throw from 90 feet away, and so Martinsville improves the lead 6-2.
Brings up Adam Fallon with now one out for the new HiToms pitcher, Brady Guthrie. On the year, Guthrie has an ERA right at 9. He's made 7 appearances, none of them starts. Has 8 strikeouts in 6 innings of work.
Guthrie was used as a closer early in the year. He's kind of moved into a middleman, and right now trying to be a fireman.
Guthrie looks over at second. Now looks back at home, delivers the pitch, and it's fouled off by Adam Fallon.
Very pretty sunset going on behind the stands on the first base side right now. As the sun was able to come out for the earlier part of this third inning before encompassing shade in the outfield, and now delivering a pretty spectacle to all these fans out here.
Has cooled off just a little. Still, though, really humid night here in Martinsville.
Most definitely. Bugs are buzzing, too.
And many of the players lifting up their caps whenever they got a chance to wipe the sweat off their faces as Guthrie delivers his next one. It's fouled into the turf by Fallon. Fallon grounded out back in the second. Mustangs have a 6-2 advantage with one out here in the bottom of the third. It's Christian Easley over at first. And Robinette is at second as Ian Francis was able to score. As that one gets away from Noah Hill and both runners are able to advance.
2-2 back in scoring position at second and third now for the Mustangs. Still one away.
So Robinette is able to get all the way over to third. And Easley's at second. Adam Fallon steps back in the batter's box with one out for the Mustangs. Guthrie kicks, puts in the delivery for Fallon. He puts that one in foul territory. Just in foul territory.
Maybe about 6 feet left of the line.
Adam Fallon out of Bowling Green. Batted .250 there. This year he's batting .293 in the CPL. His 8 RBIs, 4 extra base hits. Guthrie squats down. Puts in the next one for Fallon, and again another one fouled back. So a good at bat here for Adam Fallon. Two on for the Mustangs. Reese Robinette's at third. Christian Easley's over at second. 6-2 ball game. One out. Guthrie gets the look from Noah Hill. Tosses in his next delivery. Goes low. Noah Hill doesn't quite know where the ball is. And it means another Mustangs run is able to score via Reese Robinette. Noah Hill still doesn't know where the ball is. It's all the way near the cage, and 2 runs are now able to score. Christian Easley uses his speed to get around third. That one trickled all the way back into that cage area grandstands here at Hooker Field. And it is a now 8-2 ball game.
Yeah, just heads up base running by both players from the Mustangs, and just an unfortunate one. Noah Hill didn't know where it went and how quickly that ball rolled over to the cage that's protecting the fans on the first base side. Kind of blended in. There's a little strip of concrete before the turf really takes full effect around the infield, and it was sitting perfectly on that, resting against the chain link fence.
Guthrie's next one to Fallon. Goes on the outside for a ball. Guthrie sets and puts that one low, so it means Adam Fallon is aboard at first base via the walk.
AJ, I just can't recall a strike zone this small this season.
No, and I think...
And I hate to keep bringing it up, but it just seems to be affecting every single at-bat up to this point.
During the pitching changes, we're right above the HiToms dugout. They express their frustration with the current pitching zone and our home plate umpire. But either way, one out, one aboard for the Mustangs. Guthrie delivers, and it was fouled way back by Drew Needham, who's now up to bat for Martinsville.
Needham a walk and a single so far, so reading 1 for 1 on the night.
Adam Fallon occupies second. Guthrie throws over to second into the glove of Josh Caron.
So we've wondered how Caron would receive playing at first base. As correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first time we've seen him over at first tonight, or this season.
Yeah, I believe you're spot on with that one. Usually at the catcher spot. Adam Fallon is running. Noah Hill throws over to J.D. Suarez at second. The throw is not in time, as it looks like J.D. Suarez may have lost the handle on that one. So Adam Fallon's able to move over to second.
Throw looked like it had a chance to be in time, but it was just a bit too far to J.D. Suarez's right, and having to swing the glove around to tag Fallon. He was in there safely with a swim move.
So Drew Needham stays alive in an 8-2 ball game. Guthrie kicks, delivers, swing and a miss by Needham. And that retires him on strikes. So 2 gone now for the Mustangs here in the bottom of the third.
The 4th strikeout recorded by HiToms pitching tonight.
So it brings up Tyler Ross with Adam Fallon over at second base. 2 gone for the Mustangs here in the bottom of the 4th. They lead 8-2. They've drawn home 4 runs in this bottom of the 3rd, rather, as Guthrie delivers, called for a strike. Much needed strike that needed to be seen there by Guthrie. Fallon's over at second. The 0-1 from Guthrie is hit on by Ross, collected by J.D. Suarez. He throws to first in time for the 3rd out. But it's a 3rd out that does not come without some Mustangs runs coming across. It is an 8-2 ball game. You're listening to HiToms Baseball on the HiToms Radio Network.
Welcome back in as Avery Candid back out on the mound, the right-handed slinger. Now in a 1-0 count against J.D. Suarez, who leads off the top of the 4th for the HiToms. Another one missing just outside of the zone, now 2-0. Even Cannon having a smile on his face after that one, as both him and the catcher Francis thought it was going to be a no-doubter strike. So Suarez popped out to the second baseman his first time up. Count now improves to 3-0 as one misses low and away. So sunset dissipating straight in front of us over the first base side as stadium lights starting to cover the field. As that one delivered from a sidearm position right down Broadway for strike 1. It's a 3-1 count on J.D. Suarez. Mustangs lead this one 8-2. They brought home 4 in the bottom of the 3rd.
And right above our head, David, is a dark cloud.
That ball lined directly into the glove of the 3rd baseman, Reese Robinette. It was very hard hit from J.D. Suarez, but you can hear the pop of the glove all the way from up here as he was able to snag that one right at him. So one away brings up Dylan Lewis. And we do hope that that dark cloud doesn't produce any rain, as we're currently sitting outside.
Yeah, no coverage for us. If it
not at all. So Praying that that small little cell doesn't deposit anything on us. Here comes the first one home to Dylan Lewis. Swings on it right back up the middle. It's gloved right behind second by the shortstop. And a good play made by Carter DeRiggi as he's able to connect with Drew Needham at first for the second out.
And it was this part of the order for the HiToms that got him started in the third inning with Noah Hill, who got a base hit.
And that's how the scoring got started, like you had mentioned, back at the top of the first.
Although Noah Hill looks as though has been subbed out, so
looks as if so.
Scratch that.
Jack Spike will be the bat stepping in, and didn't look too bad defensively, so you almost wonder if it's just maybe trying to spark something different on offense. But then you go back to the question of he was 1-1, or he's 1 for 1 so far.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, obviously did have a little mix-up in that last inning, but I think can't really blame all that on him. The ball just took some weird hops away from his view.
First pitch on Spike barely clipped the inside part of the plate. 0-1. Quickly now back to the mound. Sidearm delivery drifts away and down towards the turf. Francis having to pick it.
And we'd assume that Jack Spike would go over to first and Josh Karen would occupy the catcher spot.
Hey, well, Jack Spike, he's a versatile player
he
too.
Can,
he's
yeah,
a catcher
so
up at Western. He could play first
definitely,
or catcher.
It's definitely up in the air, but
make your predictions down below in the comments. Here's a liner, a two-hopper down into the glove of the third baseman. One hop picked by Drew Needham off the throw from Reese Robinette. So 3 ground outs is how the HiToms go down in order. We'll be back to see what Brady Guthrie can do as he hopes to keep the Mustangs scoreless in the bottom of the 4th. You're listening to HiTom Radio. We welcome you back in as Bo Ruscher is due up for the Mustangs here as we start the bottom of the 4th. Mustangs leading it 8-2 over the HPT HiToms. Brady Guthrie back out on the mound. First pitch that he delivers is just inside for ball 1.
And if you predicted Jack Spike at catcher, you got it right. That's where he is. So a straight swap with Noah Hill.
Second pitch home to Guthrie, very similar location. This one catches the edge of the plate. So 1 ball and 1 strike after 2 fastballs from Brady. Rusher has a strikeout and a flyout to Kane Kepley in center so far. Third pitch on the way, and that one's right down Broadway. Muscles in a fastball from Guthrie to lead the count 1-2. Lucas Carmichael standing on deck. He waits to see what Guthrie can do here on the 1-2. Home to Rusher. And it's just away. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Guthrie works out of the stretch position whether anybody's on or not. Dips down. This one's turned on by Rusher. It is going to be down in right field at a 1-hop into the glove of Austin Deering, a leadoff base hit as Bo stands over on first base, and Martinsville continuing their hot night.
Brings up Lucas Carmichael, who's been hit twice so far in this game, so I'm sure he's hoping for a clean at-bat here.
Yeah, Carmichael's been hit once in the shin guard on his lead right leg and then once in the back left toe.
And the one that did hit him in the toe, I think did shake him up quite a bit as he was hobbling over to first, and when he was running the bases all the way home was a little limpid.
Definitely did just a little bit. That one misses inside of the first pitch home. So a 1-0 count. Guthrie high leg kick and delivers. This ball's hit pretty well out towards left field. Dylan Lewis running on it, looking up at the wall. That ball is deep and it is gone right next to the scoreboard. It's a 2-run homer for Lucas Carmichael as he'll take revenge on HiToms pitching. They hit him twice. He'll take him deep on the third at bat. And he'll quickly sprint around, catch up to Bo. They'll both tap home plate, and it's a 10-2 ball game.
Now he looks awful fine running around the bases there. As he didn't get hit by a pitch, he hit the ball out of the yard to make it a 10-2 game.
A little bit of revenge shot right there. And so now with the bases cleared, still nobody away. Bring up Ian Francis, who has struck out and reached on an error. First pitch down and away to the right-handed bat of Francis. It's the second home run that Guthrie has given up on the year. That one called for a strike as it was able to clip the bottom part of the zone. Wish I could have taken a picture of your face after that one. 1-1 count. Guthrie delivers. This ball chopped out towards right field. It's going to get over the head of Chrisman. And a one-hopper right towards Austin Deering. So the Mustangs just able to find some green grass here so far, as now it's 2 base hits that aren't hit too well, but are able to fall out in right field.
Well, not the start the HiToms were looking for in the bottom of the 4th. Allowing 3 straight hits and a home run. And it's been a tricky bottom of the order for whoever's been pitching tonight for the HiToms. Robinette was walked his last time up, and then easily has been walked twice as well.
That one's throw back over to first base. Almost got away from Carey there. He's able to extend the glove and still stay in the vicinity of first. So throw back to Guthrie. Sets at the belt. Looks in, gives the nod to Spike. Now kicks and delivers. This one's grounded over towards the hole on the first base side. Spin and throw from Chrisman. Not in time. Throw down to third to get the lead runner. Got him in time. What a gun down. Josh Karen. Way to have a heads-up play right there.
Nathan Crispin has made now 2 great efforts over at second base, is reaching out and grabbing that ball. Both throws haven't been in time, but since he was able to make that great play, you know, giving up his body, hitting the deck, throw over to first, and then the throw from first from Josh Karen over to Fernandez at third was excellent for the out.
Well, I mean, he was a solid 10 feet into the outfield grass when he dove for that ball. It almost looked like a position you'd see when the shift was still allowed, where a second baseman would be playing. Dives and is able to flip. He's beat by a step over at first. Here's a 2-hopper to Karen. He goes to second for 1. J.D. Suarez will bite it as he gets his foot taken out from under him. Lead runner is out, 2 are away in the inning. But going back to that Chrisman play, about 10 feet, able to dive, beaten by 1 step. And then Karen immediately having the awareness of seeing the runner going from second to third, as the base running has been very advantageous for Martinsville so far, but just able to gun him down. And, I mean, it wasn't even close. So now we'll roll back over to the top of the order with Carter DeRiggi up for the 4th time tonight. First pitch in from Guthrie is an off-speed down at the shins for ball 1. DeRiggi has single-doubled And that is sacrifice fly out to center. Another one misses for a ball. So a 2-0 count on DeRiggi. Christian Easley, after reaching on a fielder's choice, stands over at first base. Guthrie spins, fires back over to first. Not in time. No tag from Karen. As Christian Easley, 15 for 15 on stolen bag attempts this year. So the 9-hole hitter with a ton of speed down off first. Guthrie working quickly back towards the plate. Fastball running inside. Almost clipped the elbow of DeRiggi, having to get out of the way. So it's a 3-0 count. 2 runs have come across here in the bottom of the 4th. 10-2, the Mustangs leading the HiToms. Looking to limit the damage right here. 3-0 count, 2 away in the inning. Runner on first. Guthrie delivers 4 pitches and a walk. The 7th walk by HiToms pitching through the first 4 innings.
That was a problem last night, David, and unfortunately it's been a problem tonight. Just letting these teams just get on base, with free passes. They're going to capitalize, and the HiToms have seen that in these last 2 games.
So Adam Fallon has accounted for 2 of those 7 walks. First at bat, drew a walk, then grounded over to J.D. Suarez at short, and picked up a walk and a stolen base his last time up. Lefty on righty matchup. Guthrie widens and deals. It's down and in. So Christian Easley now standing on second for the Mustangs. Carter DeRiggi over on first after a walk. Easley reached on a fielder's choice. Guthrie fires in. This ball's turned on. Austin Deering having to range back. Has to watch it. 1 hop off the wall. Deering able to glove it. 1 run's going to come in to score easily. The throw will be cut off by J.D. Suarez. Going into third for a triple will be safe. Adam Fallon, 2 RBI triple. Mustangs continuing to pile it on here. It's 12-2.
That was a tricky one for Austin Deering to read out in right field. It took a hop off the wall. Then he had to read the bounce, collects it with his glove, but the Mustangs are so quick around the base pads. They had no problem getting 2 runs home.
Yeah, not really much contention there as that ball was slicing away from Austin Deering out in right field. It took 1 hop off the wall and pretty much died right there. There was no bounce. He had to pick it up off the base of the wall. J.D. Suarez moved into the second baseman position to cut that throw off as Chrisman was standing right near the mound. The throw down from Suarez to third was not in time. So that is how Adam Fallon has himself a triple. First pitch delivered is a fastball high and out of the zone to our new batter in Drew Needham. Walked, singled, and struck out so far today. So now this game is all of a sudden turned into how long could it take for the HiToms to chip back to now fighting for their lives, as you got to look at a run rule possibility here, as there's a big swing and a miss on an elevated fastball from Guthrie, 1-1.
Yeah, as things stand right now, the HiToms, when they come up to bat in the 5th, they need to score, right now, 2 runs.
Yeah, score's currently sitting 12-2. As the CPL run rule sitting 10 runs after 5 innings. So the HiToms, unless there's a change into that rule that we are unaware of, would have to score at least 1.
As far as we know, we're not unaware of because
the
they got run ruled last night, and it was in the 8th inning, I believe.
The 8th inning there. I believe that it's 10 after 5. We've had an instance of that this year. However, I've heard it floating around that it could be 7. We'll see if that comes into the inevitability, or a possibility rather. Not inevitable, but
absolutely
possible.
Not. So now there are a few raindrops coming down.
Yeah, we can start to feel them as we're under the darkest part of that cloud right now. As there's a chopper just foul. Karen was able to glove it.
And it is worthwhile saying if it does start raining too much, we would have to, unfortunately, stop the broadcast. And
yes,
you could just follow along on Twitter. We'd keep you up to date there. But since we aren't covered, our equipment would get wet, and we'd have to postpone the broadcast momentarily. And it is a turf infield, so it will be interesting to see how long they keep the game going if it does start raining heavy, but right now it's just a small drizzle.
Yeah, we're hoping that it's barely even that right now. It looks like the bulk of it is already past us, however. Normally the outside bands are usually an issue. Here's a fastball, big swing and a miss. As down on strikes goes Needham for the second time in his last 2 at-bats. And so that is how the bottom of the 4th will come to an end. HiToms fight for their life as they are down 12-2. We'll see you back for the top of the 5th here from Hooker Field. You're listening to HiTom Radio. Welcome back as the rain's starting to get a bit heavier here. First pitch in the top of the 5th to Drew Chrisman. Or Nathan Chrisman, excuse me. Going for a strike on the outside edge to the right-handed batter. Chrisman grounding this one. It's going to be a hard play over at third. Robinette able to fire. Chrisman beating it out. So it'll be a leadoff infield single for the HiToms as that now represents the run to stay alive in this ball game. As we're hoping the rain will stay right about where it is. If it does get any harder, we are going to have to postpone the broadcast, unfortunately, as currently sitting outside on an uncovered table.
Yeah, and the whole stadium with all the construction, there is really no coverage at all for these fans, and many of them are trickling back,
much.
I guess, to their cars. I mean, there's no way you would get into any coverage really at all.
I'm not sure where they're going to go. Runner on first here for the HiToms. Here comes the rain a little bit more. First pitch is way too far inside. Chrisman has a stolen bag, slips off the bag. It was a little bit too wet. He's now running down to third, caught in a pickle, slides away from it. He's going to try to run back to second. My goodness, Chrisman fighting to stay alive. It touches 4 different Mustangs, and he finally falls out of the base paths. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go.